one little drop D jam and using it as a jumping off point to show you a bunch of really cool licks that you can do in drop D that make it such a fun and easy gateway into alternate tunings. If you've ever been hesitant about doing anything other than standard tuning, drop D is the way you want to start, because it couldn't be easier. Literally all you're doing is dropping your 6th string a whole step so that it matches your 4th string. I'm also going to be showing you the pros and cons of single drop D to double drop D, which is what I'm in today, but you don't have to do that. Virtually everything I'm going to show you today can be done in single drop D, but again, I'll show you the pros and cons of dropping your high E string a whole step to D as well, which, as the name would imply, is what double drop D is. And I'll just start by telling you that the main advantage in my mind of double drop D is you get this huge, beautiful ringing D5 chord, which is, as you should know, a power chord when you just have the 1 and the 5 of a chord. So we have D, A, D, A, D, D. Just by fingering 2 notes of your standard cowboy D chord. It's one of many advantages, but I wanted to throw that out there at the outset because I'm going to ask you to pause the video here and drop either one or both of your E strings to D. Okay? Alright, let's look at the jam. First thing you should note is how I'm fingering those 2 notes of the D chord. You want your index finger on this 3rd string, you want your ring finger on this 2nd string. And the reason is you gotta keep that middle finger available to riff on those 3rd fret notes on 4, 5, and 6 strings. The other thing is, in any of these 3 tunings, single drop D, double drop D, or open D, the bottom 3 strings are D, A, D. They're that D5 power chord, and everything is here. Everything is 3-2 open, 3-2 open, 3-2 open. You're really not doing anything in the 1st fret on those lower 3 strings. Therefore, having your index finger set up there when you come out of that D chord can be very useful. But the main thing is this riffing. So in that jam, I just went, so open, 3 open on the 6th string, and this is just a jam. You can make up whatever you want. And then I went, so 5th string, 3rd fret, then 4th string open, so far we have, and then the 2nd time repeats, and then instead we go pull off on the 3rd fret 4th string to open 4, and then 3rd fret 5th string, and then open D. And that's the whole thing. In between you're kind of strumming, right? It should be kind of loose. Right? So that's what I did over the D. Okay, so this jam is a 1-4-5, and in the key of D, you know that the 4 chord is a G. Your G has now been moved up 2 frets, right? Normally, this is your G chord, right? Your E or F shape of a G chord, because we haven't changed the tuning of 5-4-3-2. It's still there, but the root note on 1st and 6th strings is moved up here, and you think, oh, that's going to really screw me up, but no. It actually gives you your G power chord there. So this is kind of the big aha with the open D tuning. Again, single open D, you now have why the heavy metal guys like this tuning, right? Because you can play with one finger. You can play all these massive power chords with one finger. So it makes that chunking over the Chuck Berry-ish stuff, right? So much easier. Right? Normally you're stretching way the hell out here to try to play that riff. Now you don't have to. So in the little jam I played at the beginning, I just went, I didn't do the extension, but you can, right? You can either go, or just, so it's got a lot of benefits. Like, you know, you can rest your middle finger on top of your index finger, like I like to do, to just really get a good connection there on the bar, and use your pinky because you're not doing the crazy stretching anymore. So I just chunked on that G chord. And went back to the D thing. And then for our 5 chord, again, think everything is up 2 frets. You've got your A5 here, G5. You know, if you want, you can hit that F real quickly on your way down, right? Because again, think of your power chords are D, E, F, G, A, and so forth. So, if you want. And then I just did, and that's just, I don't know why I think that sounds so cool, but I do. The thing there is sliding up to the 5th fret 4th string, riffing off the open 3rd string, coming down to 3 and open, doing the same thing on 5 and 4, and then again coming up 1 fret higher on the dropped 6th string, so 7, 3, 7, 5, 3, open. You have this lick in standard tuning. You have that lick in standard tuning because you have these 2 strings the same as in standard, but you can't finish it off with that cool drop down to the D and the ringing D5 chord. I think that sounds awesome. Okay, so what else can you do in drop Ds? I like doing stuff ring out. This is a riff I showed you in a lesson I think I called Fun Porch Jam for Acoustic or something like that. In that lesson I was in standard tuning, and you can do this riff in standard tuning, but it sounds cooler in open D. Basically, you've got parts of a D chord, right? Your standard cowboy D chord like I showed you at the beginning, leaving the 1st string open because it's now a D. Bring that up 2 frets. You've got essentially like an E7, right? This is part of your what would normally be a D-shape E chord. Then here up at 7th fret, you've got part of, right, your A shape of a D chord. And then at the 11th and 10th frets, you've got part of what would be normally your E or F shape. of a D chord, right, which would normally look like that. So, but you can let all the strings ring because they're all in that D family now, the other strings, right, because again, the two strings we're playing fretted are the ones that are not D's or A's, right? We've got D, A, D, D on 6, 5, 4, 1. So, you know, all you have to do is fret the third and second strings and you can hit pretty much everything else. Careful over the E, right, because you don't want to accentuate the A note, but like I said, if you catch those D's over the part of the E chord, then it just sounds like an E7 and it sounds beautiful, right? So there's a box at the 3rd fret where you have 3 and 5, and then you can come up to, and you have 5 and 7 on the 3rd and 4th string. And then on the 2nd string you come up here because that's your D minor, right? Of the A minor shape. And that's a bent note. And then of course your D minor pentatonic up here in its standard first position. But remember, if you have your first string dropped, your D note is no longer at 10, it's at 12. So if you want to do that bend, so that's really the main con, if you will, of dropping this first string, is if you're doing lead work, you've got to keep that in mind. And if you're playing other first position cowboy chords, you've got to either not play the first string or you've got to adjust. In other words, to play a G cowboy chord, you have to do this. And that's not a big deal, right? You just mute the 5th string by laying this finger over it. And you have your same G to G7 as you would normally at 3 and 1, and now it's just at 5 and 3. And then for an A chord, you know, you can do it there just as easily as, right? So C chord, for example, you know, you can just play 5, 4, 3, 2, same thing with an E chord. And you know, kind of a nice thing with an E chord, if you play that first string, then you've got your E7 built in. With a C, you'd have your C9 built in. Sounds kind of pretty. Okay, so that was a lot today on drop D licks. Play around with them is the main lesson. There's almost nothing you can do wrong. And you'll have a lot of fun. Alright, thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time.